Dobro večer, poštovani dragi gledatelji. Dobrodošli u još jedan 1 na 1. Moj večerašnji gost, njegova ekscelencija, veleposlanik Turske, Mustafa Babur Hizlan. Dobro večer i oprostite ako sam krivo izgovorio, jer tu su neki glasovi koje mi u hrvatskom nemamo, pa ja ću vas zvati vaša ekscelencija da bih izbjegao bilo kakove greške. Ili ću, evo, na početku još jednom oprobati. Gospodine Hizlan, recite mi odmah na početku, kakvi su u ovom trenutku hrvatsko-turski odnosi? A vi ste bili prošlog mjeseca, koncem godine, 7 dana u Turskoj, pa mogu kazati da ste vjerojatno i u konzultaciji sa svima, dakle, unutar vanjsko-političkog aparata, ipak prokomentirali recentne događaje i moguće perspektive ovih izbora. Kakvo je stanje u toj bilaterali tursko-hrvatskih odnosa?
Well, let me start by congratulating Croatia for a very successful election. We also followed it very closely. We were all excited to see the results. And of course, I congratulate President-elect Mr. Milanović. I also congratulate incumbent President, Madame Grabar-Kitarović, for the successful term she is about to finish. But that is the nature of democracy. That's a change of flag, and the diplomatic relations between our countries will continue as they are today. As a matter of fact, from the first days of Croatia's independence, we have established very close and cordial relations. The two presidents at the time, President Demirel and President Tudjman, they were very close. They have developed very personal, close relations between themselves also. But they based those relations between the two countries on mutual trust, on shared values. And until today, the same basis, sound basis, is continuing. We continue to enjoy this cordial relationship even today. There are no open political issues. Croatia is a friendly country. Croatia is an ally now within NATO, and the political relations are safe and sound. On the economic front, on the other hand, we have a trade volume of about $600 million, and it has an upward trend. It continues to grow. Of course, there is room to do much. Actually, the two presidents established a target for us for $1 billion. We are working to achieve this target. And on the Turkish investments of Turkish companies in Croatia, we are at a modest but impressive still level. They are mostly on tourism sectors, but other sectors such as renewable energy, for example, opens us new avenues. Just recently, a very reputable Turkish company finished construction of Croatia's first geothermal energy plant, and that's a very good example to follow. What we should do is to encourage on both sides all the businessmen to find new avenues, new opportunities to increase the economic contacts, the trade volume between the two countries.
Vratimo se na trenutak u prošlost, sad smo podsjetili. Kako vi tumačite tu veliku bliskost i to otvoreno prijateljstvo predsjednika Demirela i predsjednika Tudjmana? Znam da se moramo vratiti 30 godina unatrag, ali predsjednik Demirel je bio i na sprovodu i zaista su dijelili veliko povjerenje i mogli bismo kazati, ako to u politici uvijek riskantna riječ, prijateljstvo. Kako to?
Well, it was a difficult time in the history of Southeast Europe, but the two leaders at the time were able to develop this trust between them, the personal trust, and actually they used this personal trust to influence the course of events in the region. They developed policies together and helped the region to be a more stable political environment. And I had the privilege of working in the office of President Demirel as well. That was before. And I had my personal experiences as well. But I always believed in a close cooperation between Turkey and Croatia when it comes to the issues we are facing in the Balkans, in Southeast Europe today. When we have close cooperation, close relations, close consultations between us, then we have a better opportunity to develop peace, prosperity and stability in the region.
Sad ste spomenuli ovaj jug Evrope. Vama on nikako nije nepoznanica. Naime, vi ste u Ankari, u Ministarstvu vanjskih poslova bili direktor Odjela za bilateralu, čitam da ne bih pogrešio, zadužen za Srednju Europu i Balkan. Kako vi vidite danas ovaj prostor jugoistočne Evrope? A kazali ste, bilo je to prije 30 godina itekako komplicirano i itekako smo ponovo na Balkan gledali kao na bure baruta.
Well, if we are talking about the countries in Southeast Europe who are not members of the European Union today, I still sense a lot of discontent, a lot of frustration, broken hearts nowadays. After the very...
Možda čak i miris baruta u zraku. Mislim, ja se smijem, ali...
Not at all. Not at all, to tell you the truth. As long as the European Union makes wise decisions, cleverer decisions on Southeast Europe, the Southeast Europe, the Balkans will never ever become the powder keg of Europe anymore. That's my belief. The only thing that unites all those countries in the region is their common aspiration to become member of the European Union. And of course, the European Union knows that, but there were two countries ready, North Macedonia and Albania, to start negotiations, and for some ill judgment, I believe, of some of the member countries, that couldn't happen. Now there is more expectation from the Croatian presidency of the European Union, starting with those two countries to start their negotiations with the European Union. All the countries of the region, they are candidate countries or potential candidate countries, they all expect a fair treatment from the European Union. That includes my country as well.
Spominjem taj barut jer naravno nikome ne želim da ikada ga osjeti, moja generacija je, ali ovi događaji u Crnoj Gori nas uznemiravaju. Kako gledate na njih?
Well, again, I'll go back to the same argument I have used. I believe as long as the European Union makes those correct decisions, wise decisions, the Balkans will not go back to those bad old days where you smelled powder keg. Montenegro is a country, negotiating candidate country with the European Union. If there is anything wrong in the legislation of Montenegro, in the course of the negotiations of the chapters with the European Union, that would be corrected, and I believe that should appease all the parties on this issue.
Vi ste rekoh, stručnjaki naravno za, mi smo ovdje to kazali, Mittel Evropa, dakle, za Srednju Europu. Brojne su inicijative vezane uz taj prostor. Recite li, da li vi mislite iz vaše perspektive, ne sad samo veleposlanika Turske, nego i čovjeka kojim je to uže područje bavljenja, imaju li ove podinicijative koje su brojne u toj Srednjoj Evropi i kakvog smisla? Recimo, govorilo se za mandata naše predsjednice o takozvanoj uspravnici, tom konceptu Pisulskog sa početka 20. stoljeća i tako dalje, tako dalje. Da ne nabrajam višegradske skupine i sve ostalo. Što vi mislite, zapravo o tom prostoru Srednje Europe i je li to nekakva drugorazredna Europa, Europa niže brzine, nova Europa, kako su je na najrazličitije načine imenovali posljednjih godina, ili je to ipak prostor jedne buduće koherentne zajedničke Europe u kojoj ćemo živjeti?
Well, it's a part of Europe. If you are talking about today, of course, there are differences in the connectivity of the regions. At the start, there were differences in the development level. At the start, I'm not talking about only the infrastructure, but the level of democracy and human rights, everything, of course. At the start, there were differences, but with the help of the membership to the European Union, these differences are, the gap is closing, and they are a group of, let's say, like-minded countries, and like-minded countries is not something new within European Union. The Nordic countries, they try to coordinate efforts in all fields as much as possible. It could be a geographical or it might be an issue-based like-minded countries. In the coming months, you will be discussing the budget of the European Union, and there will be two groups, the net beneficiaries and the net contributors, and they will be coordinating their efforts among themselves. So Central Europe is just one of these subgroups, like-minded countries, and they need, I am sure, more investment, more connectivity within the region and with the rest of the Europe also, of course. And it's not only for Central Europe. Tomorrow, when Southeast Europe becomes part of the European Union, we will be talking about the same things for Southeast Europe this time. More connectivity, more development, and we are looking forward to those days. And we will be following the example of Central Europe, actually.
Dobro, kad smo kod toga, biste bili u Sofiji jedno vrijeme. Kako uspoređujete, recimo, ta različita iskustva zemalja koja ipak spaja nešto zajedničko, ta tranzicija? Pogotovo kad, recimo, iz perspektive čovjeka koji dolazi iz jedne visoko prosperitetne zemlje, zemlje koja ima snažnu ekonomiju, dakle, gledate na nas koji pokušavamo uloviti taj korak. Mislite li da će se ovdje uskoro zaista moći uhvatiti taj priključak sa Europom ili ćemo ipak imati još jedan period 20-30 godina kaskanja za razvijenim svijetom?
Well, I don't know how long would it take, but certainly, as I said, the gap is narrowing. I can make a good comparison for Bulgaria. You're right. I was working in New York at our mission to the United Nations, and from New York I was posted to a city on the Black Sea coast, Burgas, as Consul General. And I remember the city in those years. It was still the previous century, the end of the previous century. And then the last time I visited Sofia was 2013, and there was a huge difference in the positive sense. Bulgaria and Romania are two countries. They are still in some kind of a transition. They are still under a different regime, and they expect this regime to change as well. And they are on the right course for a better future. So I agree. The membership to the European Union makes a positive effect on the countries. It was more in the past, I should say. Spain, Portugal, Greece, they experienced better times of European Union, the better times of the European funds. It is not as much as it used to be today, but still it makes a positive difference, and being a member adds prosperity to the countries, to the lifestyle of the people.
Vaša ekscelencija, kako vi vidite stanje u Bosni i Hercegovini? Ja sam razgovarao prošle godine ili prije godinu i pol dana sa Bakirom Izetbegovićem. On je vrlo blizak prijatelj, osoban prijatelj sa gospodinom predsjednikom Erdoganom. Razgovarali smo i pred kamerama i mimo kamera vrlo otvoreno. I jasna je, da skratim priču, prisutnost i utjecaj vaše zemlje u Bosni i Hercegovini u tako jednom dobrom smislu. Moje pitanje je vrlo jednostavno, dakle, a može podijeliti na dva dijela. Kako vi iz Turske gledate na situaciju u BiH i kako gledate na hrvatsku politiku u Bosni i Hercegovini, državnu politiku?
Well, the Dayton peace accords did not bring an easy system to survive, to administer for Bosnia and Herzegovina. That's a fact everybody accepts today. Just recently, we finally had the government established at the state level, and we are happy to see that. After a long time, the political parties were able to come to an agreement to form the government. But I believe in time, the political parties, political forces in Bosnia and Herzegovina learned how to survive in the system. It might take time to do things in this system, but once there is an agreement, once there is a consensus, the system works. And sometimes it works incredibly fast if the political will is there. In this case, in the formation of the government, it worked a little bit slow as usual. It's something usual in Bosnia and Herzegovina, but as far as I know, the longest time for the establishment of the government is not in Bosnia and Herzegovina in Europe. Some other country holds the record for that. You talked about Turkey's influence. Well, the two constituent people...
Ja bih možda mogao upotrijebiti za vas lakšu riječ. Turska je primjerice ili gospodin Erdogan za gospodina Bakira Izetbegovića oslonac. Da ne govorimo o utjecaju, nego obratno.
Okay. But that's also, I would have said, partially a reality also, because for the two constituent peoples in Bosnia and Herzegovina, there are home countries for Croats and for Serbs. For Bosniaks, there is no home country. The closest thing to a home country for them could be Turkey, because throughout the history, there have been migrations, Bosniak migrations to Turkey. And today, about 6 million people can trace their heritage to Bosnia in Turkey from one side of the family. So there is a continuing interaction, of course, between the two countries in the history, and even today we can feel the effects of that. And Turkey's influence in Bosnia-Herzegovina, if it's an influence, has always been a positive influence. Together with Croatia, together with Serbia, we tried to influence the developments in Bosnia-Herzegovina for the betterment of the country. There are two good instruments we have been using. One of them is a trilateral process between Turkey, Serbia and Bosnia-Herzegovina. The other one is between Turkey, Croatia and Bosnia-Herzegovina. And the aim of both is the same, actually, to make things better for the people of Bosnia-Herzegovina. I know for Croatia, Bosnia-Herzegovina is not just another country. One of the constituent people are your kins over there, of course, and you want them to prosper, you want them to live in better conditions. And I can follow the support of Croatia for the membership of Bosnia-Herzegovina for the European Union, for example. That's very valuable. I am sure during the presidency of Croatia, Bosnia-Herzegovina will be one of the countries benefiting most from Croatia's presidency on its road for the membership of European Union. And we work together with Croatia on the road of Euro-Atlantic orientation of Bosnia-Herzegovina. And we have coordinated our efforts in Brussels, work closely with Croatia, and well, step by step, Bosnia-Herzegovina is now closer to Euro-Atlantic alliance as well. And well, as I said, if we can work together, Turkey, Croatia, Turkey, Serbia, for the benefit of all three constituent people and others, of course, in Bosnia-Herzegovina, we can make things better in Bosnia-Herzegovina.
Oprostite. Možete li nam, to je jako kompleksno pitanje, ali u par minuta barem skicirati odnose Turske i Evropske unije danas?
Well, Turkey is a negotiating candidate country, first of all. And Turkey still aims to become a member of the European Union in spite of all the difficulties we are facing, in spite of all the double standards we are facing, in spite of all the sanctions we are facing today. And the negotiations of the chapters is the backbone of this relationship. In the past, Turkey and the European Union, in spite of all the difficulties, always found a way to talk, to negotiate, to continue to consult with each other. In today's environment in the world, with more uncertainties, with more crises all over the world, I believe Turkey and the European Union need each other more than ever. And that's what we need to do, I believe, start talking again, start consulting on real issues again. And if the European Union wants to become a real world power, a real regional power, global power, Turkey is there ready to contribute to that. And if one day Turkey becomes a member of the European Union, I can assure you that the European Union will benefit from that a lot. First of all, I'm not talking about Turkey today. I'm talking about a Turkey which objectively meets all the criteria needed for the membership of the European Union. Even today, let's say 20 years ago, they were telling us, you are too backward, you are too big, you are too Muslim. Some of them did not change, at least two of them did not change. We are still too big, we are still too Muslim for some in Europe maybe, but we are not too backward anymore. Turkey is changing. Turkey is changing with the help of the European Union. If we can keep the membership anchor for Turkey, for the Turkish people there, and we can together proceed in this road. And it's not only Turkey's responsibility to achieve this process. European Union has a responsibility in that as well. It's a two-way street, and we are ready to take up our responsibilities and work things better if European Union is on the other side of the table.
Ovaj zadnji argument da ste previše muslimani u Hrvatskoj za nas ništa ne znači. U ovom studiju su bili gospodin šef Komer Bašića, nedavno muftija Hasanović, i mi možemo kazati da u Hrvatskoj imamo uzorite zapravo odnose i model ne suživota nego života muslimana, katolika i pravoslavnih na jednom prostoru. Govorim to kao uvod u vrlo jednostavno pitanje. Što očekujete od nas tijekom ovog predsjedanja? Koliko mi možemo kao Hrvati u Evropi učiniti?
Well,
Turska jasno očekuje.
Well, Croatia can do a lot. First of all, Croatia does not have any prejudices against Turkey. That's very important. And let's not put it in a way as Turkey's expectations from Croatia, but in general, Turkey's expectations from the European Union. Let's put it in this way. Maybe the previous answer was part of that already, but we should start talking. That's the first thing we should do. With some decisions taken at various levels at the European Union, high-level contacts are banned, for example, with Turkey. If you are not talking with a member, with a negotiating candidate country, you cannot do anything. We should start to negotiate chapters again. It's in standstill for years now. It didn't start in the recent difficulties we have faced in the last 2-3 years, but long before that, negotiations of chapters were stopped by 1 or 2 member countries, and they are being used in their advantage, they believed, for their bilateral problems for Turkey. One advantage for Croatia, Croatia also faced similar problems during its negotiations. You also faced double standards, you also faced bilateral national agendas, and your memories are fresh. I'm sure Croatia is in a better position to understand Turkey better than many other European Union countries today.
Iskoristio bi sad ovu emisiju da nam objasnite nekoliko pitanja koja možda neće biti toliko ugodna, ali u svakom slučaju su neminovna u razgovoru. A jedna od njih je, recimo, turska politika spram Libije. Možete li nam objasniti taj militarni element? Izvolite.
Yeah. Of course. Well, Turkey's policy on Libya is based on the United Nations Security Council decision 2259. That was a resolution taken in 2015. If you read that resolution, you will see all the elements of Turkish foreign policy on Libya. This resolution of the United Nations declares the government in Tripoli today as the only legitimate executive power in Libya, and calls to other member countries of the United Nations, to respond immediately if this legitimate government makes an invitation for help. This is very easy reading, United Nations Security Council decision, resolution, and that's what we are doing. You asked about the military dimension of the relations. Yes, we have signed a military training agreement with Libya, an agreement which we have signed with several other countries as well. There is nothing special in it. But soon afterwards, the legitimate government in Tripoli, the capital in Libya, made an invitation to Turkey to come help against the attacks of warlord, attacks of terrorists in this country. We do not want to become part of warfare in Libya. But what the international community aims at in Libya is to reach a political settlement. First of all, to reach a ceasefire. But if you look at the very recent history in Libya, starting from again in April, just last April, that's not what we are seeing. The opposing force to the only legitimate government in Libya is a warlord, Mr. Haftar. And Mr. Haftar has the support of, unfortunately, some United Nations member countries as well. he is able to use the warplanes of some countries against the legitimate government of Libya. And nobody raises a finger when that happens. Mr. Haftar could be so blatant that even when the Secretary General of the United Nations is in Tripoli, he starts bombing the city. The Secretary General was there to start a political dialogue. And the city was bombarded on the day he arrived there, and international community does nothing against this. Now the legitimate government in Libya asks for help from a friendly country, and this friendly country says it's ready to respond, passes the necessary law from its parliament. Now some eyebrows are raised. That's not acceptable. On the contrary, all the responsible members of the international community should be on our side for a political solution in Libya, for a ceasefire, immediate ceasefire in Libya. And that's what we are trying to achieve.
Kako vidite recentna zbivanja u Siriji?
The recent events in Syria, twofold. On the one hand, there is an ongoing carnage in Idlib, in the province of Idlib. In this city of Syria, there are about 4 million civilians living, and they are under the bombardment of the Assad regime. Already tens of thousands of them are on the move again towards Turkish border. And if Europe, if the international community thinks Turkey can take an additional 4 million Syrians to the already 4 million we have been hosting in Turkey, well, that's an illusion. When we raise this issue, European Union says, are you threatening us? Well, we are not. That's just simply a fact of life. We are overburdened, and we cannot do alone. And I want to ask in response, what is European Union doing in the face of the carnage going on in Idlib? Nothing. On the other hand, there is an ongoing political process, and it was thanks to a small group of countries, including Turkey, which were able to bring this about. We were able to help creating the Constitutional Committee from both sides of the conflict in Syria. The United Nations selected the members of the Constitutional Committee. The first 2 rounds of the Constitutional Committee were already held, but in the second round, the regime side again stopped cooperating with the United Nations. Now we are again at an important juncture. We need the support of the international community to pressure the regime side in Syria and ask them to be serious in the works of the constitutional community. We have a real chance there. We have a real opportunity there. If we can make together, the international community, this constitutional community to write a new basic law for the country, or maybe change the existing one. I don't know how they're going to proceed. But if we can create the basic law for the future Syria, for a democratic Syria, for a Syria, united Syria, which has the full territorial integrity, then we should all be cooperating. And there is hope at the end of the tunnel if we force this tunnel altogether.
Čitao sam nema tome davno jedan komentar stranice Al Jazeere koji ima za tezu da imate ozbiljnih problema na Sredozemlju. Dobro, sa Grčkom manje više, ali ova istraživanja u podmorju Cipra, pa onda probleme u komunikaciji sa Egiptom. Možete li malo skicirati, recimo, te situacije Cipar i Egipat? Pustimo Grčku na miru, to je tradicionalno i predugo.
Of course. Well, first of all, Turkey has the longest coastal line in the eastern Mediterranean. So that means we have some rights in the maritime area adjacent to our country. What is happening now is there is no agreement between the coastal countries for the delimitation of the maritime boundaries. There are no boundaries accepted by all the coastal countries. In spite of that, one of the actors in the region, that is the Greek Cypriot side on the south of the island, started to distribute drilling rights in the Mediterranean, in eastern Mediterranean, to some companies, mostly companies of member European Union. But the problem is some of these drilling areas falls into our continental shelf. And Greek Cypriots declares some parts of our continental shelf, which was registered with the United Nations in 2004, long ago, as part of their exclusive economic zone. That is where the problem starts. But in a disputed area, when Greek Cypriots start to freely distribute drilling licenses, nobody sees a problem, because there will be money to be earned by some countries, member countries of the European Union. But when Turkey goes there and starts drilling in its continental shelf, we are not talking even about our exclusive economic zone, we are talking about the continental shelf, and then some European Union countries, basically those actually who are to be benefit from the richness in this area through their companies, you can understand them from the loudest voice you can hear. And then they see a problem, they start implementing, imposing sanctions on Turkey. That is, in a nutshell, where the problem lies.
Pitao sam i za Egipat, ali znate što, možda mi se čini, jer sam samo na 2 minute do kraja emisije, za zadnje pitanje zapravo vas pitati ono što nas sve zabrinjava. Kako Turska gleda na ovu eskalaciju odnosa između...
I lost the translation, sorry.
Kako Turska...
No, there's nothing coming here. Okay. Yes, I can hear you now. Yes. Yes.
Ponovit ću, dakle, pitanje kako Turska gleda na odnose, dakle, koje se intenziviraju i gotovo da prete ratom između SAD-a i Irana.
Okay. Before this, maybe with one more sentence, I should finish my reply to the previous question. There's a second dimension to the problem in Eastern Mediterranean. I talked about the rights of Turkey, our continental shelf, but a second dimension of the problem is the rights of the Turkish Cypriots in the north of the island. Turkish Cypriots are a constituent people, one of the 2 constituent peoples and co-owners of the island. And they have also rights around the riches, on the maritime areas of the countries as well. And the Greek Cypriot side does not want to share those riches with the north of the country, with the other constituent people of the island. That is the second dimension of the problem. Now, let me go to your following question.
Imamo minutu.
You have 1 minute left. Okay. Well, of course, we are worried about the escalation of tension in the region. Especially, we don't want Iraq to be a war zone again. And we advise all our interlocutors, all our partners, to be calmer in the situation. Actually, my foreign minister and my president were on the phone the day before yesterday and today, talking to their counterparts all over the world, recommending a calmer attitude.
Hvala lijepo što ste bili gosti u našoj emisiji. Želim vam sretnu i uspješnu godinu. Hvala što ste se odazvali, došli i bili u našem studiju. Dragi gledatelji, hvala i vama. Nadam se da ste uživali u emisiji. Gledamo se i sljedećeg ponedjeljka. Do tada, doviđenja.